Passion gets blocked hard by you-know-who, Kachuk.
McDavid scores! Game winner! Series winner!
Oh, he scored! Oh, Steve Smith in a technique to get it out of his own zone, put it in the net!
Talbot and Mark Smith, they're going to go at center ice. This is the Battle of Alberta we've been waiting for 3 decades!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast. My name is Favoured. I'm a writer for the Oil Rig, alongside my co-host Josh, who is a writer for the Win Column. We've also got special guests today from each of the Win Column and the Oil Rig in Alex and Greg. Thanks for coming on, guys. Before we get started with the topic everyone wants to talk about this time of year, the playoffs, I think maybe I'll give it to Josh and Alex, and you can do a quick in memoriam of the Flames season that turned out exactly the worst case scenario that I think it could have. So I'll give you some time there, and then Greg and I can talk about a team that is actually good. So go ahead.
I would say the worst case scenario probably would have been finishing 11th last and giving that pick to Montreal. So at the very least, they didn't do that, but it's pretty sad to say that we're over here celebrating a 9th place finish because it's not the worst case scenario. When I think for any other franchise in the league, it probably would be the worst case scenario. But that's just what we do here in Calgary. I know before this, I looked up some numbers. This is the 8th time the Flames have finished in that 9 to 11 bubble range since 2000, which is the most in the Western Conference. So they are the kings of mediocrity. That's what they do best. And as we all know, that's what they did again this year. At the very least, there is some progression from some young guys. We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, I think overall, pretty disappointing season. And I'm sure Alex probably shares the same sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into the year, I think we all kind of predicted that they'd be really, really bad and it would probably be a tough season to watch. But at the end of the day, it would have been like, they're picking in the top 10. All of us would have been pretty happy if that was the case. At the end of the day, I think they gave us a pretty fun year. Like, I enjoyed watching most of the games. I'm one of those people that, as much as I probably was on Team Tank, when I'm watching the games, I can't actively cheer against them. So the fact that, they were in it right until game 82 basically was, it was good. And like Josh, like you said, I think they gave us some really good performances for some of the young guys. Like, honestly, Wolfie was amazing all year long. I mean, I think he was better than any of us could have expected him to be, and I think we all had pretty high hopes for him. Coronado was great after his, demotion that should have never happened. And even like someone like Zary, who didn't really play a whole ton, looked good in spurts, when he wasn't coming back from an injury or whatever it was. But yeah, it is still brutal because last year, at least at this time, we were in the top 10 picking, and we ended up landing Perek. And this year we don't even know where our pick's going to be because it all really depends on how New Jersey does and how Florida does. We're probably hoping both those teams are first-round exits, and then we'll see what falls to us. Unless, by the grace of God, they win, what do they have, a 0.5% chance of winning a lottery with their own pick? Unless we get the luckiest thing ever and we jump all the way to 6, because you can jump 10 slots, they're going to be picking in the late teens again, and it's just kind of been the norm over the past whatever many years. So I guess we'll see, but I don't think the season was as bad as I think people are saying it is, but it's also not as great as what people are making it out to be. I know Eric Francis, the minute they were eliminated, said it was a wildly successful year, which I don't agree with, but it is what it is, I guess. Unfortunately, this is what we've come to know as Flames fans. They're not good enough to compete, but not bad enough to, fully pack it in. So, not great.
Yeah, it seems like when you're trying to rebuild, that's like kind of the worst case scenario, I guess. Like you said, FaZe, like they're not getting that playoff experience for the young guys, and they're also not adding another dynamic player like Zane Perek, who like we're all so excited about. Like, how'd you get him? Well, you picked in the top 10, and now it's like kind of just we're gonna have to go a full what could be 24 months until we get another top 10 pick, pretty much, unless they get that 0.5% chance, which just seems like a bit of a wasted year when you're trying to rebuild. I think they definitely took a step forward in terms of like progression from the younger guys, like you said, but I think you still need to start adding elite talent. And when you're not adding that, it's kind of just feels like you're stalled, like you're kind of at a plateau in a rebuild. Like, I think they've got some nice pieces. They can definitely become a playoff team who, one of those teams I think that gets in every year, but also one of those teams that's like a wild card team every year and just kind of first round fodder. I think that's kind of where they're headed right now, which is a little scary because that's where we've been for so long. Like you kind of think like a team like Minnesota. That's kind of what I think of them. They seem like a team who's just like never fully rebuilt. They're just kind of always like in the playoffs, but it's just they're out in the first round every year. And I think if the Flames don't add another top 10 pick, don't add an elite center, that's kind of where we're headed. I think they're like halfway done a rebuild, but like the worst thing you can do is halfway.
I think the good thing, at least, I think when we're looking at it, is they've got a few good pillars. I mean, we know Wolf really solidified himself as a number one this year. We're looking at him as he's a franchise goalie, and we kind of know, okay, unless something drastic happens, and hopefully that's not the case. We know he's as good as he is. Perek, given it was only one game, but based on his track record in the OHL, if everything goes according to plan, he's probably a number one. Hopefully, at worst case, he's a really good number three. But yeah, Josh, like you said, they need that franchise forward. I know we're all dreaming of Gavin McKenna, and he's a winger, but I would take him over for anyone really. Like they've got some nice forward prospects, but the issue is none of them are really game changers or game breakers, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the Minnesota point that Josh made, and I mean, Kirill Kaprizov, he's a pretty good player. That was a 5th round pick. They have 15 million in dead cap. They've got some good guys, so it's not impossible to do it. I think next year they can make a lot of noise by doing that. So, I mean, I get where you guys are coming from, but
I think, like you said with Wolf, that's a big bonus. Like it's very hard to find a franchise goalie. Like just ask the Oilers, who are going to the playoffs with Stu Skinner, and
but we're going to the playoffs
and probably in big
right,
danger with that guy and his ugly mustache back there. So I would say at least we have Dustin Wolf because you got to build from the back out, and the Oilers kind of built from the reverse. And credit where it's due.
They should have got a Dustin Wolf instead of Connor McDavid. That was a huge rebuilding mistake.
Yeah. They'd probably be a cup champ if they did.
Probably should have gone for a Wolf instead of a Darnell Nurse and $20 million a year. But
yeah, imagine, we still had Laurent Brossoit.
Flames legend.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about Skinner's play in net, but to criticize his looks, I think, is just telling lies at this point. Completely biased.
I'm assuming it's because Josh can't grow a mustache and he's just jealous.
Whoa. I don't know. Rumors.
I'm saving it for the play. I'm saving it for a Flames playoff run, which hasn't happened in my lifetime, so hasn't seen the public yet.
Debuting soon.
This episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast is proudly sponsored by Ali Ramtula, your go-to realtor in Calgary. Ali is an award-winning industry leader who makes buying and selling real estate a seamless experience. No matter what your real estate needs are, Ali's full support will make you feel at home while finding your home. Contact Ali Ramtula today at 403-477-2280 or ali.ramtula@gmail.com and make your real estate dreams a reality. Skinner is the big question, right, for the Oilers. I mean, all the commentary right now is everyone's favoring the Kings over the Oilers, and I think, big reason is Skinner, right? And it's interesting that that's making such a big difference. And then, the injuries part of it and everything. Greg, I don't know, are you worried about this year as much as everyone seems to be worried about the Oilers?
I'm like, as much as some people are delusional about looks, I'm a Skinner believer. Like I have to admit that every time I'm talking, like on our workplace Slack or the group chats, where like people are way more questioning Skinner than I am. Is he great? No. He has more playoff wins than Connor Hellebuck, though. I'll tell you that. It's like he's been thrown into the ring as a starter. He's never had a chance to like be a backup and kind of grow his role. Like he's dealt with a lot here. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But I think like a far bigger issue is Ekholm being out. So like if you look at who this Oilers team was before Ekholm played on defense, it's like yes, they went to the conference final, but like they looked terrible the entire time.
Yeah.
And no one believed in them. And then like what changed? Like you got that like anchor of the defense, and everything kind of fell into place. A lot of other things went right. But like, yeah, to me, like, I'm not worried about Skinner. Skinner's gonna be Skinner. He's big. He's, you know, like a classic like J.S. Jaguar, like first stop guy, like, but yeah, if your team defense isn't on point in front of him, that's when he looks terrible. Like, I think maybe it's in my head, but my confirmation bias is always like, it's always the start of the year. Everything's going wrong for the Oilers. Like, the shooting percentage is way down. They're giving up like 10 breakaways a game. Like, that's when Skinner's looking his worst. Like, yes, he has a bad game, but it's rare that like they're going well and he's legitimately holding them back. It's more that it's going well and everyone's like, well, it's Skinner. It's not going to keep going well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's come back, like, you know, after the injuries, had 2 really good games. Granted, sure, one of them's against San Jose.
And the other's against Winnipeg. They're not much better. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, you know, maybe it was like, I think it was a couple of years ago when Nurse got a concussion and then started playing really well. Maybe the Oilers just need, you know, little tiny resets every single time to play better. But, you know, I'm with you in terms of, I'm worried about Skinner for sure, because you always kind of have to be, I think. But yeah, the defense is a bigger issue. The Wallman trade is looking great now, assuming he can play, because that's someone who hopefully can at least fill the void a bit. But, you know, I'm definitely more positive on the Oilers because I'm a huge Oilers fan. Like, let's be real, I'm a homer. But, you know, everyone talks about LA being this great team, and they are. This is probably the best version of LA Edmonton's faced. At the same time, you know, people talk about depth and they talk about this, that, and the other thing. Well, LA has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double-digit scores, right? Edmonton has 10. So, you know, I don't necessarily agree with this whole premise that, you know, they're this much deeper of a team or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, Quinton Byfield's taken a huge step. Alex Lafayette has taken a pretty good step. Trevor Moore as well. But I mean, like,
And Brant Clark.
Yeah, LA's going to do what they're going to do, which is they're going to play hard. They're going to be a good defensive team. They're going to play a little dirty, despite what Danault seems to think about the Oilers. You know, I don't think it's going to be as crazy of a shift as everyone's making it to be. And I think for the Oilers coming in as an underdog, this is a team that really is resilient when people say they're bad. Like, when people say Connor McDavid is not good, he can't score, he can't win. Well, what does he do? He goes out there and proves them wrong each time. So my thought is this is actually playing into the Oilers' hands here, that they're not the favorite. This is my personal opinion, because every year they start bad when they have expectations. So.
I think you're overlooking the Oiler killer Andre Kuzmenko, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's been great for LA, hasn't he?
He's so good. He's joining the ranks of former Flames who are like on top lines around the league.
yeah, he seems like a guy who's just like, if he doesn't have a top talent around him, he's absolutely terrible. But then like on a good, like that year in Vancouver, he was great, and then now on the Kings, like he looks like a legitimately like impact player because you can kind of insulate him with other strong players.
Yeah, like Kopitar. It's perfect for him. Perfect.
Yeah, like what center do the Flames have to play him with? Like not on Kopitar's level, at least. Like Kadri's great, but he's not.
Rory Cairns, yeah. Bring him up.
Yeah, we didn't even play him, so he couldn't have played with him anyways. We had Kevin the Rune Dog in there instead.
The Runes. So. I mean, it also helps when you're not, your coach isn't Ryan Huska. It must be nice for Kuzi to go out there and just being able to play hockey rather than, hey, Kuzi, play defense. I know you're not good at it, but play D. Okay.
I know that's the funny thing too, is like the Kings are kind of viewed as like more of like a tighter defensive team style, but like they still allow that creativity in their play, which is why he can like contribute like he didn't do on the Flames. So that's kind of an example of good coaching versus bad coaching, I guess. But
well, I think it's the defense. Their defense core is very much heavily built towards being a defensive core, versus like the Oilers core is the complete opposite, right? Oilers defense is all about scoring goals.
I would say that the Kings is like each line kind of has its own like real identity that they stick to, and like and I mean some Kings fans, they don't like Jim Hiller. What makes a good coach? Who knows?
Going to coaching, like I think that's another big question for Oilers fans going in terms of lineups and things like that. Obviously, Jeff Skinner is I think every Oilers fan I talk to absolutely loves Jeff Skinner, but it seems like maybe Knobloch isn't a big fan. We see him, end the season with McDavid and just seem to be crushing it. And then their first lineups after the season is he's back down to the third line. So there's that. Josh Brown was on the third pairing at that practice. And then if Frederick and Kane come back, who comes out? Like there's all these questions for the Oilers, and I don't know if that's uncertainty. That could be an issue, right? Like I don't know, Greg. Would you put both Kane and Frederick in if they're both good to go game one? And who do you take out?
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting question. I think if they're ready, I do it. I think I was saying the other day, like the Oilers' flexibility is probably a strength, especially against like a heavy line matching team like the Kings. Like I would almost have just like pairs of wingers and just rotate the centers through if you need a vibe switch, like keep that Brown and Skinner, and if it's not working, throw whoever else up there. I'm in an RNH again or something. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be. We haven't seen Kane or Frederick in this lineup at all. Really, they don't have a regular spot. Like to expect them to be at their best, to expect them to have chemistry after not playing with this team the whole season it's a lot. It's a lot. Basically, it's like just Connor and Leon do your thing as always. Like everyone else, it can't win a playoff round. Hard to score a point a game, and the playoffs come, and these guys are next level. It's shocking. It's shocking.
Yeah, like that's the other thing is you can never count out two guys who have the best playoff point per game percentage in history. Who like Leon Draisaitl needed one leg to, set an NHL record against a team that everyone thought was better than them a few years ago. Can't really remember which one. If Josh or Alex can help me out with that, that'd be really appreciated.
17 points in 5 games, man. I can't. Bad memories.
I mean, listen, he's just that good. He eliminated you guys again earlier this year. I know not technically, but that. But even then, he was injured. Like no one really knew what the injury was, but he was injured, and he stepped up with those 2 goals when it looked like the Flames were going to end up taking the game. So, I mean, I think you can never count them out. So, I think you're right that you just got to.
And they haven't been at their best really since before the Four Nations. They've been really just like kind of coasting through every once in a while, McDavid or Draisaitl saving them. And the record is like very similar to the Kings, who just had, what an amazing season. They're so much better now.
I mean, it's funny because the Kings put up 105 points this year, and their best seasons the last 4 years, like last year was 100, or 2 years ago was 104. So, it's like you say, it's the best season ever. Well, they have a really good home record. I'll give them that.
Their home record's ridiculous.
Yeah. But the Oilers, I think, were 1-0-1 against them on their ice.
There you go. I will say from a Kings point of view, I think for the first time in 4 years, they have a very, very good goalie. And I think that's one of the big factors in the series is Darcy Kemper is a phenomenal goaltender. I mean, last year it was Talbot and Riddick. The year before, was it still Quick? I remember Quick played in 2022.
Yeah.
Right, Korpisalo. I forgot. Yeah, they had Korpisalo, which he's either God or he's terrible. And
he was really good in that series. Yeah.
And then this year they have Darcy Kemper, who has a cup. He's been consistently one of the best goalies in hockey over the past, 8-9 years now. It's a huge, not an advantage, but it's a huge boost for the Kings, who, of the last couple of years, if they get goaltending, maybe maybe one of these series are different, right? But to your point, they have the two best players in the series, and they will always have the two best players in the series. It really doesn't matter who they play. So you can't always count the Oilers out for that. But I think this is going to be, the best series of the four that we're about to see. I think both teams are, I think this is the best version of the Kings that we've seen. It's maybe not the best version of the Oilers, but they're still very good, unfortunately.
I mean, I will say I'm excited that the Kings do have a little more firepower because, the last few series have been a bit of a slog. Like, it's always fun playoff hockey to see it be like that, but it was very much the Kings just doing their best to prevent the Oilers from scoring because they knew they could only score X amount of goals a game. So this year with them having that, maybe that opens it up a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They added sniper Warren Fogle, 20 goal scorer.
Is this a Warren Fogle revenge tour?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we got Victor Arvidsson revenge tour, so
Oh crap, he was a King. You're right. It should be a good series, I think, regardless.
I think before the season started, I was like, we're going to play LA, and it's going to be a sweep by the Oilers because it's just how the pattern's gone. Win in 7, win in 6, win in 5. I'm not as confident about it now, but I think if you're the Kings, you need to end it earlier. I think if it goes to 6 or 7 games, the Oilers are the ones who take it. I think the Kings need to, if they're going to win, they have to do it quick.
Pun intended.
No pun. Well, they don't have them anymore.
It should be interesting, though. I think for sure. I just do wonder, where would the Oilers be if they had a certain Dylan Holloway?
Yeah, Broberg, some
Broberg
youth and
too.
size.
Yeah.
Ryan McLeod.
Yeah.
I did not realize Brian McLeod had a 50-point season this year. I was like, that is
Well,
good
he's
for
in
him.
Buffalo, so
At times,
no one knows.
at times on their first line, honestly. It's
Well, I think that's the thing that people, keep saying, but it's like, do these guys get the opportunity in Edmonton to put up those points? Probably. Broberg is the only one who probably would have been. Maybe Holloway, because
I think Holloway, if they'd stapled him to Draisaitl.
yeah.
Right.
But listen, Jeff Skinner is coming in, his first ever playoff games, and I think he's going to be a huge, huge guy. Like, if I had to pick someone who's going to be a huge difference maker outside of like the usual suspects for the Oilers, my pick is on Jeff Skinner. I think he's been playing well down the stretch, and like I think that's just that adrenaline for him. I'm excited to see him. I think he's going to be good.
There'll be an adrenaline rush for him for sure. Like, he's been in the league for how long? And he in
2078 NHL games.
Yeah, and like in 2025, he's getting his first look at playoff action. I think for him, he's just going to be just pumped to just be there. And like, he's a good player. I think I thought he was going to fit in with the Oilers like a glove. And obviously, at least for probably, admittedly, I don't watch a ton, but the first 75% of the season, it just didn't look like he was all there. And I thought for sure he was going to rip 40 next to Connor. I was like, wow, this is a phenomenal signing. And, it hasn't really worked out. But if he contributes in the playoffs, it doesn't matter what he did in the first 82, right? So
I think it'd be pretty funny if he made the playoffs for the first time in his career in 15 years and got swept and then never got back again. That'd be pretty hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Nothing against the guy, but that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, Jeff Skinner seems like a great dude, but I would be very happy if it was a sweep.
I think he has to get his because he got drafted in 2009 or whatever. I think he has to get 1,078 games. Yeah, he's got to get 15 years of playoffs done in this playoff run. So I think that's at least one win per year that he didn't make the playoffs, right?
But how can you play a guy in these games without any playoff experience, guys?
It's ridiculous.
How can you do that?
Yeah, he needs to get some more playoff.
It's almost like having
more practices. Needs a few more practices, guys.
Maybe he needs to watch a few playoff games from the press box. Do you guys know anyone who's in there? Maybe.
No, they're not allowed in the rink.
We'll see. What's for the Oilers, for you guys, what's your prediction for this series?
You know what? I'm going to go real big. I'm going to say Oilers in 4.
Great.
I can give reasoning.
Okay, go for it.
It's not good reasoning, but I can do it. I think it was like I was saying, the Kings need to do it quick. And I think the Oilers are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. I think McDavid and Draisaitl especially. I think they hate the Kings. So, the Kings hate the Oilers, but I think the Oilers actually hate the Kings more. And I think, if they win game 1, that's just going to that's going to put back into the Kings' mind. Oh, here we go again. And I think it's, like I said, I think the Kings need to get it done early, and if the Oilers can win early, that sparks it. Granted, LA wins game one. Obviously, A, that prediction has to be out the window, but B, I think that does actually that leads to the Kings winning it earlier as well.
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about our brackets as a whole, as the playoffs are starting league wide. I mean, I have the Oilers beating the Kings in 7. I maybe don't have them going that much further in the playoffs after that. I picked Colorado to win the cup, like some other people here. And I guess my surprise was that the Habs make it the furthest of all the Canadian teams to the conference final, because I don't believe in Washington or Carolina. Yeah, or I'm gonna say it again, or Winnipeg. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have Winnipeg losing in the first round. Last night's comeback by them didn't help, but they just seem like a team that chokes every year, and I would absolutely love for the Blues and Broberg and Holloway to make it further than the Oilers. So I've got the Kings beating the Oilers in the first round too. So that would be a pretty fun story. But yeah, I think I don't trust Connor Hellebuck. I think, like we said earlier, like his numbers are worse in the playoffs than Stuart Skinner's. I feel like, and he didn't look very good yesterday either. So, but yeah, I think for the Oilers Kings series, I have Kings in 7. Like I think it's going to be a very, very tight one. But I just feel like without Ekholm and with Darcy Kuemper, like I think he's going to be able to steal a game or two. And I think McDavid and Draisaitl are going to go God mode like they always do, and like they're going to carry. But I think the Kings, this is the year they have maybe just a little extra depth that they didn't have in the previous years, and that goaltending help that can maybe push them over the edge. But I would not be surprised at all if the Oilers winning like 5 games and McDavid has like 15 points. That's totally a possibility too. It's so hard to count them out. So I think it's going to be a really tight series. But I mean, I'm praying the Kings win, because I can't put up with another Oilers playoff run. If they meet the Panthers in the playoffs again, you're never going to hear from me again. So
I thought you wanted them to face Toronto in the final.
Oh my God, I'd leave the country.
you never hear from me again if that happens either. So
I feel like an Edmonton Toronto Stanley Cup final called it the Civil War.
yeah, no, last year was like, as a Flames fan, playoffs start. Okay, worst possible scenario: Florida Oilers in the final. Like, what are the odds of both them? It's like 1 in whatever. Sure enough, that happens, and then we watch Tkachuk win a cup, and McDavid has like the 3rd best playoff run in history, and we're like sitting at home, like, so what line are we going to pencil Kevin Rooney on next year? So it's like,
What's
I can't.
Huberdeau up to?
Yeah, what's Huberdeau up to? Like, I can't do that again. So as long as the Oilers, Leafs, Panthers are out of it, I'll be happy. I don't care who else wins, but I mean, the Oilers and the Leafs both look pretty good. So I think, and the Panthers. So I think we're probably in for another painful couple months as a Flames fan here, and then we can look forward to the draft at least, where we have a top pick. Oh wait, never mind. We don't have that either. So that's where my head's at.
Yeah, I was gonna say short and sweet. I'm gonna take Kings in 6. Just I don't want to bet for the Oilers. I want to bet against them, and for everything Josh kind of said, I think this Kings team is the best that they've built. And honestly, the Oilers aren't really going into the playoffs riding a high, which isn't necessarily the be all end all. But like I look at like what Dallas has lost 8 in a row now, and I think Colorado's going to kill them. But they aren't necessarily going in playing their best hockey, and I think the Kings are riding a high. Not saying again it's not the be all end all, but I just hope that this is the year that the Kings finally beat them. And then on the East side, I hope Tampa wins, and then hopefully Ottawa pulls off the biggest upset in history.
Okay, one other question then for you guys. So there's 5 Canadian teams in the playoffs. Realistically, there could have been 7, which I think I would have actually really liked. But out of the 5 Canadian teams, A, who do you think is the best chance to win the cup? And B, who would you prefer, especially for you guys who are not in the playoffs and you have to watch someone else? Who would be your most preferred cup winner out of the Canadian teams?
I think the best shot, unfortunately, is the Oilers. I don't trust the Leafs because no one trusts the Leafs. The Senators, they kind of suck, let's be honest. The Jets, they choke every year. Montreal is great. They're super fun, but like I think they're still a couple pieces away. Like I think they kind of just floated on some like Lane Hudson. Their defense is terrible, so I don't think they're going deep. I think you have to say the Oilers. Like whoever has McDavid and Draisaitl for me is going to be the team that has the best chance of going on a run. If I had to pick a team that I'd want to go, it would be Montreal. They're kind of like, I grew up a Habs fan when I was younger. They're kind of my second team, and so it's been fun watching them, and they're exciting with like Demidov and Hudson, and kind of lived through them as a team that actually has young talent, unlike the Flames. So it's kind of fun to be able to cheer for them. So if they went on a run, and I think it's just good for the league. I think like Montreal in the playoffs is always fun, and it's just like that atmosphere. So that'd be kind of cool to see them go on a run. But yeah, realistically, I think the Oilers are probably the best shot Canada has, unfortunately.
Yeah, the same sentiment here. I don't trust the Leafs because we've seen in years past how their best players choke, and maybe Marner goes on some kind of legacy run because this is probably it for him as a Leaf. But then again, when the lights are the brightest, he is one of the worst players in hockey. And I keep seeing Flames fans saying, "Oh, they should sign Marner," and I would stop being a fan if they ever signed that moron. But I think their best shot, unfortunately, is Edmonton. I think they have the cup run experience of last year, and when you have the two best players on the planet, we've seen them just take over series. It's incredible how they do it, because in hockey, it's one of the hardest things to do is to have one or two guys take over, like in basketball, like you've seen LeBron do it, or Steph Curry for years and years and years. But it seems like those two can just take over games whenever they want. And like, if they just get league average goaltending, they don't even need Vezina from Skinner. I mean, they can beat anybody, unfortunately. But like Josh, if the team that I want to see go the furthest, it would definitely be Montreal. My dad's a Hab fan, so they're like Josh, kind of my second team. I don't really like to have a second team, but if I had to choose, probably the Habs, just because, like I said, I love Caulfield. I honestly, if they can go on a run and Caulfield has some unreal run wearing 13, would be like storybook. They also got Suzuki, who's really good. Demidov's going to be unbelievable, and they've got some studs back there, and I hope it can kind of be, not to bring it back to the Flames, but if Hudson has a really good run, it's like, hey, look at this young kid leading a defense where, the Flames got like kind of their own guy that they kind of refuse to play. They're just so fun. They're so exciting. And they're all like, this is only year one for them, which is incredible. They're going to be so good for so long. And the fact that they're doing it with Sam Montembeault is hilarious. But they seem to just always have great waiver pickups. Paul Byron was like the best waiver pickup of all time. But yeah, I'll pick the Habs because they're fun. And honestly, I have no beef with the Habs. Absolutely zero. Except for the fact that they have our pick. But that's not our fault. That's Brad Treliving's fault.
I was gonna say, wasn't their coach a waiver pickup, or are you trying to forget that?
Yeah,
undrafted waiver
that was
pickup.
before my time, so like that's fine. That was way before my time. But one of my buddies got one of those Tim's hockey cards yesterday of Marty St. Louis in a Blasty jersey. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that was a thing.
No.
Like I forgot that was a thing way back in the day.
Oof.
So it's okay. They would have fumbled that anyway. They definitely would have fumbled it.
Yeah, he would have been stapled to the press box for some 6'6" refrigerator from Alberta. So,
well, you guys, they know how to scout wingers for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They know how to find them. They just don't know how to develop them. But
Some things don't change. Yeah.
First line Adam Klapka, baby.
Let's go. Let's go. I stuck my actually they were bashing him in the Flames chat, and I was like, guys, I don't get it. He's kind of doing well. Like he's only 24. Like
Yeah, I kind of like the guy.
yeah, he's a fun player, honestly. Like I think he could have a future. I think the problem in Calgary is like we're so starved for that talent. It's like a lot of people jump on and be like, "Oh, Klapka, like he's gonna be a 60-point guy." It's like no, he's not. He's never gonna. But he's a fun player. I think he could be a useful like bottom. Like anytime a guy that big can like do what he does, it's always gonna find a home in the NHL. So I think, like yeah, even when they're kind of at their next contention level, if they ever get there, I think he could be a good kind of complementary piece for sure because he's put up decent numbers in the AHL. Like he looked pretty good to close out the year. I mean, it's pretty sad he's on the first line in must-win games. Like
he was scoring though. That's the other thing. He kept scoring.
Better than the other options. But yeah, no, I like him. I think he's a fun guy to have around. I hope they keep him around and he kind of develops into that like bottom six kind of grinder, heavy hitter kind of guy. I think he could fit in well there.
He's better than Sharon Govich. I'm just kidding, Sharky. You had a good end to the year. Give you credit.
Yeah. So, Greg, so what, I mean, I'll ask you the same question, but also who you think is going to win and stuff. You can pick the Oilers for, you know, who you think will be the best team if that's what you think. But what team outside of the Oilers, other Canadian teams, would you like to see if it's not the Oilers?
Well, like, we've had some great points about the Habs are just pure vibes. How could you not love it? Also, the best crowd, at least in Canada. They those guys are dialed, man.
I can agree on.
Like I said, I picked the Habs to go furthest of all the Canadian teams just because I think their path is the easiest. Vegas is, I think, going to be an issue for Edmonton. I think everyone except Minnesota would be an issue for Winnipeg. So I have the Habs going furthest. I think the best bet to win is obviously the Oilers. They're so good. They're so good. They came one win shy last year, so they're clearly. I do like a Canadian power rankings article, and they were in first for me all year. It's like, I know they're not winning the President's Trophy, but like when it comes down to it, like how is Winnipeg different from the last year? Toronto, there's lots of reasons to believe they're better, but like they're still the Leafs. They still haven't won anything.
It's my favorite argument. Is
Yeah.
that they're a good team, but they're the Leafs.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, with our bracket, I again, gung-ho Oilers fan, so I couldn't ever pick them losing. So I have them winning the cup, actually against Carolina. I don't know if I actually believe the same thing, that the Oilers have the best chance to win the cup or the best shot, just because, like you said, Greg, like the West is a gauntlet. You win this round, you get Vegas. You win the next round, you get one of Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg, maybe St. Louis. But like, it's not an easy path. And I would agree with you that Montreal has the best shot. Like, I think they can beat the Caps. I have them beating the Caps. And then, they play Carolina, who is a very good team, obviously, but I don't think it's the scariest team. And then, it's really then who do they face? Toronto, Tampa, probably not Toronto. Let's be real. Let's be realistic here, guys. It's going to be Tampa or Florida, which is a tough meet, but you got young guys on a run like that. They don't know any better. They don't know how to lose at that point. They don't know any better. So I actually think Montreal has the best chance, like you said, Greg, in terms of path. I think, though, if it was Edmonton versus Montreal, it's Edmonton in 3.
Yeah, I think, Montreal, I think it's fair. Like, Washington does seem like a team that's kind of like riding a bit of a bender and then is going to come crashing out, like riding that Ovechkin chase high like all year. And then I don't think they're as good as the record indicates. So, yeah, if you're a team like Montreal who kind of has that, like a bunch of young guys in their second year in the league, like they got nothing to lose. Like they're just starting. They're just happy to be there. So who knows if we saw it, however many years ago when the Caps were the powerhouse of the East and Montreal rolled in as like the 8th seed and knocked them off. So it's definitely possible. And it would be super exciting because I think hockey at the Bell Center is a different beast. And it would be fun to see them go on a bit of a run and kind of watch them from a Canadian fan perspective, to watch a market like that go on a big run. So, yeah, and then we know the Leafs aren't doing it. So, and we know the Sens aren't doing it because they got an ogre for captain. So that's not going to happen.
Honestly, yeah, it's Kachuk that's making me not want to cheer for Ottawa. I'm still going to cheer for them in the first round, but it's
tough.
I mean, I like him. I like Brady way better than Matthew, but I still don't really like him.
I miss a Kachuk on my hockey team.
Yeah, I miss having a guy who can kind of be that disturber, but also is a very, very good player, because the Flames don't have that right now. They don't have that guy.
We just talked about Klapka, yeah.
It's Marty Pospisil.
Oh, yes. I love him, yeah.
Just give it a couple of years, guys. Klapka's going to be the next Yager. They don't call him Jaromir Klapka for nothing.
The big mutant Klapka, as Mackenzie Weegar once said.
All right, well, this was a good wrap-up on the Flames season and a nice start to a hopefully long Oilers playoff run. Thanks, Alex and Greg, for joining us. For all you listeners out there, make sure to follow the Fuel and Fire podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and also check out our blog. So thanks again, and see you guys in a bit.